Let's do some evaluation of our pigments. So for exercise 1 in lesson 5, we have to evaluate whether or not our paints are transparent, semi-transparent, or opaque. The reason we painted over the black line is we want to see if the paint, if we can see the paint on top of the black line. That tends to mean that the paint is not completely transparent. So if you compare the two yellows, this one appears to be very transparent. So I'm going to put a circle, an open circle for that one, because that one's very transparent. And this one also is very transparent. I can't see any paint over the top of that black line. And the same thing with my two blues. So I can make those easy evaluations. This is Quin red and this is Pierrot red, and I can really see the red on top of the black line. So that's either semi-transparent or semi-opaque. Daniel Smith only has a 3-degree rating, so I'm going to indicate that that one is a semi-transparent. I'm doing this in pencil in case it shows something different on my chart. Now the Quin red, I can really see some paint on top of that black line. So I would at least rate it as semi-transparent, maybe not semi-opaque, but at least semi-transparent. So let's see what the chart says. And this one I can really see, so I know this one is the most opaque, but I can still see the black line. It's not covering the black line completely, so I'm not going to call it opaque, but I am going to call it at least semi-transparent or semi-opaque. It's not as much here, but let's see what the chart says. So Daniel Smith has a chart, as you can see, for every color. There's a little code underneath each color. So this is the Hansa Yellow Light. So I'll look, and they do say it's semi-transparent. And then we also have to know if it lifts or not. So if I go down to my code, or over to my code, this is the key on this particular chart. So the Roman numerals are about light fastness, that's permanence, that we talk about a little bit, but we want to know, does it stain or not stain? So they have a degree from 1 to 4 whether it stains or not. So let's look 1 to 4, and then granulation is either just yes or no. Yes in varying degrees, but they don't say in their chart what varying degrees are. So we're going to do that in lesson 6. But let's go ahead and finish this one up. For our Hansa Yellow Light, it says that it is non-granulating, and I would agree, it doesn't appear to have a lot of texture there. So I'm going to give that a 1 for granulation. So we're going to do a more sensitive scale than Daniel Smith does, so it has to be between 1 and 4 for granulation. But I also want to know whether it is staining. And this says 2, which means 1 is non-staining and 4 is high staining. So I'm going to say granulation, no. And I'm going to say staining is about a 2, according to them. So we're going to do that test in a minute. But I just want to see what the chart says first, so I can compare my experience to what the chart says. So then let's look at the New Gamboge. New Gamboge is here. You can see Hansa Yellow Deep and New Gamboge are very similar color, but the difference is in the other properties. This one is semi-transparent. This one is very transparent, so that I agree with their chart. They say that it is a 2 in terms of staining, so it doesn't stain too badly. And then it says it doesn't granulate, and I would agree, you can't really see a lot of texture in there, especially compared to that manganese blue hue. So granulation is no. If I had to do a scale of 1 to 4, I would say probably a 2. It granulates a little bit, but not very much. And then it is transparent. Okay, so let's do manganese blue hue. So the manganese blue says that it's transparent. It does granulate, and it is very staining. On a scale of 1 to 4, it's a 3. So it is transparent. It does granulate, yes. We're going to give that a 4. It's one of our most granulating. And then we're going to say that it is quite staining as well. So it's a 3 on the staining scale. Now let's look at Pyrrole Red, which is here. So it says it's a 3 on the staining scale, so it's a 3 here. It does not granulate, and I would agree with that. So granulation is a no, and I would say that's a 1 or a 2. I'm going to give it a 2. It's not completely smooth now. I'm going to give this a 1 for no granulation, and this a 2. It granulates a little more. This was pretty equal. Okay, and then our quinacridone red is here. It says it's transparent, it doesn't granulate, and it does stain. So it stains, it says it's transparent. I can see the paint on top of there. It might have just got a little too stiff, so okay. Too strong on it. So that's a transparent pigment, so we'll go with what the manufacturer says. And it is non-granulating. I'll give it a 1 as non-granulating. So then on my ultramarine blue, this is a Holbein color, and I went to the online chart for that, to the assignment, and I'm going to pull up Holbein's manufacturing chart. So the only color that I have from Holbein is ultramarine blue. So we have phthalo blue red, marine blue, and I have ultramarine light specifically. So ultramarine light, it says it's code TNE. So what does that mean? So every manufacturer is different. So I believe the T means transparent and non-staining, and let's see what the E stands for. So let's look at their code, probably down at the bottom. So TNE, an easy lift. So my ultramarine light by Holbein is a TNE, so it means it's transparent. So I'm going to have a full circle. It's non-staining, and it's an easy lift. And I'm going to say that it is non-staining, so it's going to be a very lifting pigment. I'm going to give it a 1. And in granulation, I'm going to give it a yes and make it a 3, because it's a 2 or a 3 in terms of how much it granulates. And this one is my phthalo blue. So let's look at what they say here in green shade. It says it's a very staining pigment, so it gets a 4 for the staining, and I agree with that. We're going to do that test in a minute. And then it says that it is a non-granulating pigment, and I would say granulation is no. This is just me painting badly on hot press paper, so it's a non-granulating pigment. I know that for a fact from other paintings, but not necessarily from my chart here. So now let's do the lifting test. So I painted over the black line and above the black line, so I'm going to try to lift it above the black line. So I'll start with the phthalo blue. So the way I'm going to do this is put some water down and let it sit for a minute. I might do it below the black line on the other ones. So I'm going to go ahead and put my water down below the black line. I've decided I don't want to mess up my black line test for future reference. So I'm going to just put some water down and let it sit there and cook for a minute. I'll go ahead and try to lift below there. So I'm letting it sit And now I'm going to gently scrub where the water is. Every time I do a wipe, I want to wipe off. So I don't want to come off the page and go back without wiping off. Otherwise, I'm just going to put the paint right back on that I've just wiped off. And you can't see what I'm doing there, but so I have a towel here. So every time I wipe, I'm going to clean off my brush on my towel or my sponge. And I'm going to keep doing it until I can't get any more paint to come up without trying to rough up my paint too much. So I can get, all paints are a little bit lifting in watercolor. Unlike acrylic, they do lift a little. Before I move to a new color, of course, I want to get all my brush really clean. So you can see that one lifts a lot more than this one. This one's really getting quite back to the white of the paper quite nicely. Move on to the quinacridone, which it says it's a 3. We'll see if we agree. So every time we wipe off so that we don't put the paint back. And we let that water sit for a little bit so that it starts to loosen the paint. Soak it like you would a dirty pot. Okay, not quite as lifting as the blue, but still I can lift. Let's do this. So this says it's a real staining color. Let's see if it is. I'm going to go ahead and do this blue because I got some yellow in it. So this is manganese. It says it's very staining. I'm not sure I agree with them. That's getting pretty white. Not quite as white as that one, but it's pretty white. This one's pretty staining. Okay, let's lift this yellow. So this says it's pretty lifting. So let's see, a 2 isn't as staining as this one. It says. I've always found yellows to be pretty staining, but maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, that goes pretty far back. You can still see a little yellow there. So I'm wiping off after each swipe. I'm not going wipe back because then I'm just putting the yellow paint right back onto the paint. So this says it lifts too. The yellows are a little harder to determine because they are very high value and close to white as it is. So they're a little harder to evaluate. I do know they stain the pencil lines into the paper very well. So I would say this is the most staining. If you see that, it's just not getting back to white at all there. And then probably this one, and then this one. I don't think that's a 3, unless I didn't apply my paint very well, because that's pretty close to white. I'm going to change that evaluation to a 2. At least this tube, I don't agree with the manufacturer on that one. And this one I would say is the most lifting. I did get a little bit of red in there, but that one's the most lifting, I would agree. This is the most staining. That's why I had you to do it on the white chart. If you recall, way back when, I also wanted to paint the whites. I'm going to get my acrylic white and my titanium white out, and I'm going to chart the whites for opacity and staining quality. Okay, so I want to do my whites on this chart. Now I just put some white there. So I'm going to, this is titanium white by Daniel Smith. It's a watercolor pigment. So whites are typically pretty opaque. So I just squeezed out some paint. Now I'm going to do my little graded wash like I did before. Add water. Add more water. I don't like to do this at the same time I do the other colors because it might get all the other colors polluted. So that is the watercolor white. And I went ahead and put in the pigment directly on the paper, and this is gouache. So I'm going to keep this chart watercolor. You're required to do acrylic paint, and my acrylic paint tube has gone missing. So this was the gouache, which is opaque watercolor. So I'm painting over the black line first, and the value association is 1 because it's white. And we're going to see if we can evaluate it for opacity. You have to do it pretty thick in order, as we did on the other colors, as thick as you can get it. And then pull the paint down. And before I forget, I'm going to label it Titanium White by Daniel Smith. And this is Gouache White by Windsor and Newton. So we'll let those dry, and then we'll see how much more of the black line is covered up once it's dry. So I'm going to keep it at an angle when I dry it off. Okay, I'm trying to get a little bit of that yellow cast away. So now I'm going to try lifting the white and see if we decide it's going to be hard to tell because it's already pretty white. But we'll see how well we think it lifts. And then we'll compare it to our Daniel Smith chart. Yeah, I think I get pretty close back. So usually the whites are the more opaque. No, I'm not even going to make that association. But we'll see about gouache, see if it's lifting. But you can see it covers up the black line more than any other color does. So I'm going to call both of these opaque pigments. And then I'm going to say granulation is no and give it a 1 on both instances. And then the staining quality, I have to look really close and sideways. It's just really hard to tell. So I'm going to look at my chart for Daniel Smith, find titanium white. So it says it does not stain and it does not granulate. So, and it is semi-opaque. I'm going to call it as opaque as it gets. It's not actually as opaque as the gouache. You can see it doesn't cover up the line nearly as much as the gouache does. So, but I still think it's the most opaque watercolor that I have in my arsenal, so I'm going to call it opaque rather than semi-opaque or semi-transparent. I think it's a lot more opaque than that yellow, for instance. So I'm not going to give that the same rating. And that's the chart, and how you finish up assignment 5, exercise 1A and 1B, as well as assignment 6, evaluating the granulation. So granulation is where we feel like there's little bits of dirt and stuff in it. So we really only have 2 pigments in this arsenal that granulate. This one more so than this one. That's a 4, and this would be a 3 on our scale. Good luck and good evaluating.